it is 6:15. Thank you all for coming. This is the budget hearing, so the first 15 minutes will be the budget hearing. This will be the presentation of the budget. I think everyone here has signed in already for the annual meeting, and then there is a separate sign-in if you want to speak at the regular meeting, which will be held later after the annual meeting. And that would be speaking during public comment. So signing in now allows you to vote. All right.
Okay, this is going to be what was published in the summer. Right now that my numbers have changed already. But when I had the numbers on the 14th of October, this is what I came up. Our FTE for this year is 7.25. We get, or 7.5, we get 11,325 per student. We have declining enrollment that we have this year that was proposed at 238, and I was estimating our private school voucher payment to be 168. I had aid, our general aid was coming in at 3.9 million, which all amounted, what came down to, if can I go a little bit further? We came up with the general fund levy of $4.5 million. We're paying 2.1 in referendum step, and we have a community service tax levy of 252. When I take that times our equalized value that I had estimated before October 15th, which was 909, the estimated value, take that times our levy, I came up with a mill rate of 767, which is down from the previous year. Last year we were at 805. So today's, that's what you guys wanted, so we were able to accomplish that. And I remember this for the next meeting, so actually the levy's going to be 761. So, yeah. So, any questions on anything?
We're just talking about the levy. 2 years ago it was 904, right? And now for this year, after we certify a number, it'll be 760. So with a major referendum and still being able to drop the levy the way we have, I think is really a win-win, and a tribute to Patty and how she makes sure that we always on the up and up here. So thank you, Patty.
I'd just like to comment that when we first started talking about this referendum, like 3-4 years ago, I know we had discussed about what our levy would be at, and we were hoping back then that we were in the 9s at that point of 920 and 914 actually, 950. And I remember us thinking, well, it should go up, but we just hope we can keep it as is. Well, now we're down $1.
And that's really because our values were held to the property that was so that helps from
Right.
I have to do these numbers. The reason they're going to be different later is all numbers of the state are certified in October 15th, and I had them report to you on 14th to make it in the sound of the different weeks. So, I put those numbers the next day at 1 o'clock. So, just the game way.
Okay, we can't start the annual meeting until 6:30, so if you do decide to have a question, feel free to ask it. We'll still be here.
Every time so actually have so this was oh yeah, actually that's the process. So if you did,
I guess.
So, okay,
11%.
you can change what's the spec.
well, and it depends where you're at. Because, okay, this is last year's resolution, and this is what this thing certifies, everybody's values. So when I apply our web is and that's how it's in the building. So it's from the health trust. It's last year, 1.2, Sherman, 1.694, 1.6. So we have, I would say that this is the way to run this in our school district.
Yeah, I mean, we're in our.
School taxes, when I submit it to them, it's 760. I don't have any visuals on that. I don't know, my school taxes, this is what I submit to the state of, this is my. Because if you're considering.
That's, I think that's kind of. What I think it is.
This is what I'm hearing. I don't know. If it's already happened.
Yeah, it gets, and I've actually been in the village. Yeah,
It's over.
they throw it in a program, they throw it in a formula.
And that's exactly.
Yeah, but it's, I don't think. First, what is it? I know. Well, we're going to our. All the IR. Well, and that's it. I mean, that's it.
This is.
I think.
No, I know, but it's like.
Anybody should be talking about. Well, it's,
Wrong with,
why not?
I don't know.
No, unless it's no, no.
Are we just taxing our property?
Yeah.
Like, you take the the value of the property and then what did you times 7.61 for the schools?
There's more than two taxes on it.
Like,
Right, and, but the school is broken up into its own line.
And you don't figure that out.
no, I did, but I'm just trying to find out why it's 14% for me and another percent for
That's all that you have.
That's
So, and it, so my property values as much as yours.
right.
So you're gonna pay me, it's just fair then, because you're just.
Yeah, it's based on, it is personally based on the property.
Right.
It's still 14%. I mean, why is everybody else?
Everyone should have the same percentage, like you say, percentage for the school. Yeah. So, right, so if I go home and figure out my percentage, and my percentage is different than his percentage, then we would have to go to the town.
The village, all of it.
Well, we're in the town, I forget. No.
Yeah, I would go.
I could call Baird and try, let me try to find more.
Okay, I will call the meeting to order. It's agenda date, time, and location are properly announced. Thank you for coming out tonight. We are having our annual meeting. And just a few things to go over before we get started. If you did not sign in for the annual meeting, we ask that you sign in. And then we also have a separate sign-in for the regular meeting, which will be later. If you would like to speak during public comments, you need to sign in on a different sheet of paper for that. We also have on page 3 of your packet, does everybody have a packet? On page 3, we have some suggested motions that you could use if you would like to make a motion under the agenda items that we'll be voting on tonight. And anything else here in housekeeping? All right. So then we will get started with the election of the chairperson. I will open nominations. Are there any nominations for chairperson? Hey, you. Thank you. Are there any other?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Are there any other nominations for chairperson? I have to ask this 3 times. So are there any other nominations for chairperson? I don't know if that's 2 or 3. All right, we'll go one more time. Are there any other nominations for chairperson? Okay, I'll close nominations. And now we need to vote on, where is it? Or is it just on, this is Sandy's been our, that's all. No, for chairperson. Do we just, do we have to take the vote?
No,
Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We only do this once a year, so I'm resting. So next we have the election of the clerk, and as Amy is here as the board clerk, we do not need to have nominations for that. That takes us into Dr. Trimmer's remarks for tonight.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the School District of Random Lake's annual meeting. We're honored to have you here to be part of this event. In Random Lake, we strive to give every student a distinct advantage. This advantage helps inform how we teach, how we develop our curriculum, and even how we set our yearly budget. Random Lake Advantage is how we continually improve our practices with our values of strong classrooms, strong culture, and strong community connections. Over the last year, our strong classrooms, some of the big things that we've been able to accomplish is just recently we got our second National Merit Scholar in 3 years, which may put us at the most National Merit Scholars per capita in the state. And also yesterday, last year, a perfect ACT for the first time in our history. Our culture, we continue to make Random Lake a good place to work and a great place to learn. And our strong community connections can be seen with how many students we have working inside and outside the school with our youth apprenticeships, with our students teaching in their own classrooms. And even tomorrow, I have the honor of going down and accepting the award for our 4.0 Industry 4.0 from the Museum of Performance. Tonight's budget is set with these goals in mind, and we are very thankful to have the family's trust in passing our referendum. The state of the district is strong, and our facilities will soon be just as strong. Tonight is an important night as we make important decisions for the coming school year, including setting our annual budget that will give the students in the school district Random Lake that continued distinctive. Thank you.
Next, we have the school lunch program. Voters need to hopefully approve the continuation of the lunch program. Is there a motion? Thank you, Kim. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we need to set the Board of Education salaries. listed here are during the 23-24 school year, members received $800 annually, $30 for each additional meeting attended or special meeting, and the president received an additional $200. The last increase was $100 for the annual salary and $5 for special meetings in 2017. The additional monies for the president and the clerk remain the same. Is there a motion for setting the salaries for the board? Here.
The first that's a question.
Sure.
Okay, let's say a board member goes to association, school boards meeting, or CC meeting, or something like that. Do you get your mileage covered for that?
Yes, we get it covered if we turn it in.
All right, well, I'll make a motion. Seeing that it hasn't changed since 2017, I'll make a motion that the members of the Board of Education have a salary of $900, an additional $200 for the president and clerk, and that they receive $40 for each additional special meeting. And that board members be reimbursed for actual necessary expenses incurred this year.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion? Tim? Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor? Oh, what? Oh, sorry. I think what we've done in the past is it's been, when in 2017, we had the same question. Any board member is allowed to reimburse the district, the district still has to pay it, and correct, right, Patty? But then you as a board member can donate it back to the school. Well, we're at that point of yea or nays, so yes, we can.
I just want to mention that.
Oh, no, that's fine. Okay, any other questions or discussion? The motion on the floor is $900 annually, additional $200 for president and clerk, and $40 for additional special meetings. That has a first and a second. Any other questions?
So don't say name.
Yes.
Okay, where does this money, where does the money come from? The budget. The budget. And just a comment from me, you guys, this is you're on the lower end of the pay scale. According to other districts around. So lower being the $5, lower they're saying the $40 that we're only seeing about $800 or $900 is not a lower money. I just went through a business, just came up with a discussion of business standards.
Okay. All those in favor of the 900, please say aye. Opposed?
They say the price for the $5 for a special meeting, that's my electricity.
No, we just took the vote and it did not pass. So, what we were saying there, I don't know where the $5. Oh, that it increased in 2017 an additional $5. It was $25 the numbers.
Oh, so that.
Could you raise your hand for nays? The nays that opposed the motion? All? Right, and we're trying to find out how many voted against the motion. If you voted against the motion, you said no, raise your hand. We're just trying to get a count, that's all. If it sounded higher, they may have just been wrong. So it would stay the same. Thank you, Gary. We appreciate the consideration.
Thanks.
Next, the school year. What? Well, just for this statement.
I guess we would probably need to make a motion.
Is there another motion? How about that? You're probably right. Like I said, I must. All right, does anybody want to make a motion, a different motion than the 900, 240? Is there a motion out there? To, a potential one would be to leave salaries as they currently are. Okay, motions, salary as they are. Okay, thank you, Ellie.
I second.
Who is that? And what's your name?
Carrie Malone.
Thank you, Carrie. All right, any other discussion on that? So that would leave it at, okay, we want to do a hand vote on this. So it's $800 annually, $30 for special meetings, and $200 for the clerks, the clerk and the president. All right, so all those in favor, please raise your hand. Nays? Opposed? All right, that one carries. Thank you. Now we're moving on to the school year. We need to adopt a minimum of at least 437 hours of direct pupil instruction in the kindergarten, at least 1,050 hours of direct pupil instruction in grades 1 to 6, and at least 1,137 hours of direct pupil instruction in grades 7 to 12. That is the minimum that we need to adopt. Is there a motion? Kim, or there was someone over here? Is there? Oh, I thought so. Okay. Kim is making a motion to the, what's currently go. Okay, let's go down. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ellie. Any questions or discussion?
I will say that all our schools are over the minimums. Our elementary is way over the minimums because of all state numbers. That's why we're allowed to, yes, if that's one of the same.
Questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? All right, great, thank you. Next, we have the treasurer's report. We're going to have Patty Davis do the treasurer's report this year. We're doing the summary of the 2023-2024 school year. And Patty, what is your title?
I am the business manager.
This. Okay. Thank you.
So in the general fund this year, I was able to transfer $350,000 at the end of the year into our capital. After that, we took January or July, and our audit was finished after that. I did have $11,000 in the green after my transfer to the auditors on to journal entries and entries I had to make at the end of September, so I did end up not putting money in our regular fund. So I'm going to show this. All has been figured out for the fund that we did. Also in Fund 10 this year, we used up all of our ESSER funds. They are no longer in play. They're down. The fund balance for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024 was $2,284,111. Fund 21 is our activity donation fund that continues to grow as we receive grant donations from the First Career Foundation, and revenues from the Conservation Fair and Ramley Cafe. In addition, the PTO, the floor kids, do a lot of donations to our activity fund, which then get in turn gets used like on field trips for our different grade levels, and all of our student activities are in this fund. Want to thank all of the local businesses and local members who continue to support our program for our students through activity. Fund 27 is our special education fund. Our spending increased by 8.9% from the previous year. The district has to increase special education employees to meet the increased needs of the students in those services. Our debt service fund, Fund 39, was on budget with the debt payments and our amortization schedule provided by each of the bonds outstanding. In the past few years, the district has levied for prepayment of debt. The current fund balance is $892,143, but that also, there is going to be a big payment that will come out of it that is from 23-24, but does not get done until the next school year. I do have about $300,000 in that. The long-term capital improvement fund, Fund 46, had a net gain of $366, $122.20 due to the $350,000 transfer and then interest that was earned for the year. This fund was created in June of 2016 and is used as a savings account for capital projects. The district transfers any unused funds from operations into this fund at fiscal year end to offset the cost of future capital projects. The current fund balance is $682,223. Fund 49 is our referendum fund, and that has an ending balance of $23 million right now, because that's where all our funds are going to be taken out as I get draws for the work that's to be done on the referendum. So that's basically all it's in the The food service fund reported a loss of $70,000 this year. But free breakfasts, that was kind of intentional on their on the food service. On 80%, we had too much money in there. It's not good to have a large amount in our food service, so we offered free breakfasts last year. And that's why we had the $70,000 loss that with the higher cost of food that she's experienced. Current fund balance is still $123,714 and $150. The community service fund is Fund 80, and that reported a loss of $12,000. This fund is used by the district's fitness center, our Ragnall Fort paid daycare program, Rams Care, our community resource officer program, community recreation, public relation program, as well as community education program. The remaining fund balance in Fund 80 is $157,591.64, of which $41,000 is in Rams Care. Rams Care is our daycare, and they are like they're budget neutral, so they need to sustain themselves. So we still have a fund balance of $41,000. The balance is reserved to maintain the fitness center equipment as needed. That's it for last year. That's what I read here. Any questions?
Okay. If there are no questions, then we need to make a motion to accept the treasurer's report. Is there a motion?
Make a motion, we accept the treasurer's report.
All right, thank you. Is there a second? Then you do? Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
I need to put a microphone in.
Motion carried.
I know.
Next, we will have Patty present the 24-25 budget and also explain the Fund 80 tax levy. Just all from the packet. I don't know if all of that's Patty, is all of what you're saying in the packet?
There's an answer views in the packet, yes.
Slide.
Okay,
These
slides
slides
are not. Okay, thank you. That's just my presentation. So this is the same form I showed at the budget hearing, but this I'm going to show you the actual numbers after the October 15th survey. Our stayed the same. our per pupil stayed the same. But this is showing where we went from, I think it was 170 something, to
We didn't protect it next year, so sorry, keep going.
And these numbers are just, these are going to be on the 15th of October, there's nothing I can do about it, this is what it is, according to FT.
So our total revenue limit is going to be the 8,567,647. Can you go up a little?
I can go down.
Slide this way.
Or just black.
But I read, can you just back it up a little bit?
Then we all, I mean, then they, because I, yeah, oh, well, you don't have to do it that. If we just blacken it together, like,
Okay, so then their number you can see comes forward, and I bring that down here. So then out of that total revenue authority limit, they're telling me I have, they give us 8. And before I got certified, it was 3.9 million. I got a little bit more here. I got 4,012,000. Our computer aid, our computer aid stayed the same. Our personal property aid stayed the same. That's been consistent, I think, for 3 or 4 years, hasn't changed. So my tax levy at the end, this is my Fund 10, which is our general account. This is where all the bills go in and out, our main budgeting is the 4,524,980. So how does that all work together? Fund 10 is the 4.5 million. Our 2.1 million is still, that's the same as the last one. That's what I'm gonna pay in tax payments this coming year. And the 252 is going into our Fund 80. So our total school-based tax levy is the 6,934,834. The equalized property value, we get an estimate, we have a company that gives us an estimate, I had estimated it out at, they had estimated out at 909. The state actually came through at 911, 541, 444. So you take our levy, you divide it by the equalized property value, and you take that times 1,000, and our mill rate will be 761. So it's less than what I had actually previously estimated. Very straightforward. I just had to plug numbers in, and this is what they give me, so can't really do anything about it. Any questions?
I just had a couple questions just on the areas that changed the most. So ESSER funds, those are from the federal government. And
Which ones?
Yes, sir.
ESSER.
ESSER funds,
Sorry.
that was all the ESSER funds.
And that goes through Fund 10 or that?
That went through Fund 10.
Okay.
We did allocate the first year sum to Fund 27 and Fund 50.
Okay. So the federal sources, sorry.
Federal sources is like all our all our grants. So Title I, Title II, Title IV. I think Carl Perkins is that. So that's like, and those amounts are moving. They change every year too. Nothing's real solid.
But they've gone down
Yep.
substantially.
And it's usually based on your enrollment.
And was there anything with COVID in there, COVID funds?
That's ESSER funds.
That's, okay, all right. And then, just the support services function, that number went down, and what changed that number went
And that
down?
level would have probably been our lease payments, and I didn't have lease payments, we paid everything off.
Oh, okay. I'm just asking these questions because
That's
I want to
fine.
make sure I understand.
That's fine.
Okay, and then, down to, the community service fund,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering so the total on that, like, later on, we have a board action
Mm-hmm.
for the 252, 454. So how does that fit in under Fund 80?
Daycare is not included on the total because they're neutral. They're in my budget for totals, but they're not in what we're going to approve.
Okay.
We're not paying taxes on what we budget for the daycare.
All right. That was it. Thank you.
Anything else?
Patty, just for a point of clarification, I think you said earlier, but so last year, our mill rate was 8.05, and this year it's 7.61.
Yes. We went
To
to a
be clear, we went
referendum
down
and we
again.
are going down on our mill rate. That was something you guys advised and we're trying very hard to, I'm trying very hard to do that.
Jim?
Thank you.
Okay. If there are no other questions, that takes us to item 11, which is the adoption of the tax levy. As Patty presented it, it is on page 3 of the suggested motions with all the numbers. If you would like to make that motion with those numbers. Is there a motion? Kim and Gary, second. Are there any other questions or discussion? This is one that we write paper. So Amy, if you could pass out paper for everyone. A yes vote would be to approve the numbers that are stated on page 3 of the suggested motions that Kim and Gary just first and seconded. That would be a yes vote. A no vote would be to not agree with that.
We did. I scribbled on that, but so much for that.
Okay, I got it, sorry.
I brought extra paper.
All right. And then we could pass these down to, Amy. Yeah. We're good.
Or we can't vote.
Yes, you get to
We
vote.
get to vote.
We all had paper up here already.
Oh, okay.
And set us up.
Okay,
So we sent ours down to your desk,
okay.
and Chris is helping you out there.
Does anyone need a pencil?
Kim, Gary has one.
Everybody?
Thank you, Kim.
1 no.
All right. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have to set the annual meeting for next year. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, just as a reminder, so we used to do this annual meeting earlier, but one of the issues with the annual meeting, I think, when was it, August? When we first started this, August, I think, right? But then we would set numbers without knowing what our property values were, what our enrollments were. So a few years ago, to try to really be transparent, we set this meeting to come after October 15th. The state gives us our numbers, we know our third Friday. So when we put something in the sounder, those numbers are much closer. And Patty got within 6 cents of what our mill rate was. So where when we did this in August, it was kind of a guess. So it's our suggestion to keep doing this. This is the best way to make it look like we have as much information as possible. I think it's a longer night tonight, right? We have 3 meetings. We started with the budget hearing and then the annual meeting and then the regular school board meeting. But this allows us to make sure that what we're putting in front of the public, what we're putting in the paper is the best of our knowledge. So we would suggest we keep doing it this way.
And the suggestion is October 27th, because everything has to be done by October 31st.
Yep.
So is there a motion to set that date?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Is that the next item? Because I see it 10 and 11 before the annual meeting.
We did all of that.
The levy and adoption of the Fund 80 and levy. Was that all included?
Yeah, so 10 was the explanation that Patty did.
Okay, sorry.
And then 11 was what we just voted on with paper. And 12, we are at the annual meeting.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right.
No.
I thought I
Hey,
was checking them
I'm
off.
telling you, tonight I'm a little, the new space and we're all lined up in one straight line. I can't see anybody. So any help, we'll take it. So we're back to, is there a motion to set the meeting at Monday, October 27th, 2025 for the annual meeting? Ellie and Gary? All right. Any questions on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Do we have any other business? Think we have any other business for this? And we can adjourn without a motion, so we will adjourn the annual meeting. Thank you for attending. And 7:03.
7:03. I think we said approximately 7 o'clock for regular board meeting, right? 6:50? Oh, we're a little late. There you go.
Well, that's
Even
all right.
better. Better late than early.
That's right. We'd have to wait again.
Yep. We did use approximate in case it was.
Oh, okay. All right. If anybody needs to take a quick break, now would be a good time before we start the regular meeting.
And now we sign the other paper, right?
Yeah, if you want to speak at public comment, Okay, I will call this meeting to order as the agenda, date, time, and location were properly announced. We are now in our regular meeting for the month of October. We will start off with the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of September 23rd, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Who's that?
Chuck.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Rini, any corrections, questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to the payment of the bills. Is there a motion to approve the amount of $943,370.89 for the month of September?
Make a motion.
Chris? Is there a second? Katie?
We did have, Rini, you had some questions on this, right?
Yeah.
Professional services for $31,000. Patty, I believe that was the supplies, cleaning supplies, and all the equipment that we needed. Since we've changed vendors, we buy it for our own self, right? And then what was the other question?
I just saw a check to SaberCorp and I thought we were done with SaberCorp.
We were, but they charged us one less time for the dumpsters.
Oh, okay. That was it. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the cash summary.
No questions on this, so pretty straightforward.
Donations.
Yes, active month this month. As you can see, we have a bunch of staff working with Donors Choose. Congratulations to Mrs. Argue for helping with a sound investment. To Mrs. Haas for the first year teaching set. Mrs. Beck for Classroom Essentials. And thank you to Brian Stout for $150 for the 2024 Veterans Day program. And even before this donation, or was it before the donation, is also, I'm proud to say, our speaker for Veterans Day this year. So thank you very much, sir, and thank you for your service and everything you do.
And that takes us to the follow-up on our public comments from the September 23, 24 board meeting.
So, one of the things that we run into with public comments are, by open records law, we as a governing entity should not discuss something that's not posted in the agenda. Cannot, by law, cannot. So, even though I appreciate what Gina and the board did, I think the tour we did last week and some other things, we try to find ways to be as transparent as possible. What we've done for this month is everything that was discussed last month, we put on here so we can give an update for anything we might have missed last month. And then we're actually leave it open if there's some questions for clarity. We wanted to use this as a way to make sure that there is no questions going forward from here. After this, we will have the open public comments from here. So this is just the first piece. We had some questions about showers and bathrooms. One of the big things we heard last week was about safety. What happens if somebody has a medical issue in one of these single-use bathrooms? We've been working with Ray Architects and Myron Construction. We have a scenario that's it's going to be a investment, but we feel like it's something that's worth it. So we're going forward with putting a button, emergency button in each one of the bathrooms. So it's going to take some time. We have to do wire mold and get the buttons on, but that'll be something that will be coming here in the near future, and we're moving forward with that. There's questions about the bathrooms and any kind of hacking into the cameras. Lee has said, how did you explain it? It's on a different network that only you can get into,
Yeah,
right?
different network that only IT, the administrators, and an officer of Myron can access.
Next, we talked a little bit about discipline procedures for misbehavior in those areas. Susan, have we had, in the locker room, in the bathrooms, have we had any office disciplinary referrals in the first 2 months of school? Okay, and we do have the posted rules, and that has been going very well. I think our students understand the rules. We feel on our end it's going well. And then communication to the public was a big piece around the showers and bathrooms. We really tried to share in our tour that this was a continual conversation, and we think Ray did a fantastic job of bringing coaches in when we talked about the locker room, bringing teachers in when we talked the classroom. This was always about long conversations, and we took probably twice as long in planning in trying to do that. I think sometimes the communication to parents on the individual locker rooms, looking back, probably maybe could have been different, but I don't think that anyone would have thought that there was as much concern because of the safety we were putting into the experience. And really what we're seeing right now around. So that's the shower and bathroom update. Do you have any questions on those bullets before I move on to the next bullet with those updates?
Can we just get an email sent home to the parents on what the posted rules are? With just because like the fall sports are gonna be starting, so I think it would be good for the parents to know this is what is expected of your kid during basketball and wrestling.
Can we put that in Friday updates? We'll have it in the Friday updates so we know that they're out there, and that'd be a really good place to put that. Thank you. I love that. Anything else with the bathrooms and the showers? Okay. Moving on to changes, overall changes. There is some questions about win and lunch, and about how the phones and then homecoming. So I guess with this, Susan, do you want to talk a little bit about win and lunch and just as we look at this and the changes? I know the first 2 months we've been going, what are you seeing as far as with win and lunch and any of that other good stuff?
So, fiscal year, WIN is basically, instead of academic resources, what I need. And we have two different sections of WIN, so 11 o'clock and 11:30 up to the lunch. And this was the build leadership piece with the teachers, really discussing how can we start getting support for more students across the board, just not our students who are most struggling, but we're trying to move all students forward for growth. Really setting up what our academic labs will call them. So there's ELA lab with reading and writing, math lab, and then we have a reassessment lab. So let's say a student misses school, they can go there to make up an exam or take an exam that they missed, as well as a structured study hall. And then all the students have a general study hall at that time, and then teachers are making requests and students go to the different labs. We have a peer tutoring lab that since October, we've seen more kids attending, and that tutoring lab is another layer too that's overseen by teachers. So that way, anyone who has like a basic math question, let's say, or algebra, they may not need to go to the institute, they can ask their tutor, think of that help with that question. So that way it frees the teacher up to get to those other students that she wants to get further. So with that, we did decide to break out the lunches so that way we can get more targeted with that support. However, always knowing that it is important for the kids to be together all Fridays or ideal weeks all together. Now, it's not in our current space, we're all in there, but once we're in the new space, we're going to be totally spread out from the other levels, which will be a big change. And then our high school will be able to go into the larger lobby area as well. So that'll be an additional perk for them. Now with Bramway, we have Bramway 2 days a week, Tuesday and Thursday. And on there, we've been doing club meetings, culture building activities. We're going to be adding in community service projects in November. We keep layering on different things. And this October, we added in the senior campus, open campus for seniors, as that extra layer of privilege. But also when they're not in those club meetings, then students can go access any teacher that they want, for questions. And we're gonna be layering in where they can request to go to teachers at different times too during the time. So it's been a process, but I have to say, since we've gone through September, October has been fabulous. We've really seen some great numbers with the students accessing the help, and the assistance. And next month, we're going to be sharing that data out with the board so that we can see how many students are being requested, receiving that extra help, and what for.
I talked to a staff member today that was pretty excited about how they're seeing less failures and less students struggling. Are we going to be able to show a comparison of maybe the number of students not being successful last year to this year? Or is that something that has to wait till September, or until semester?
No, we can show that.
Okay. So, and this isn't just a high school, this is an elementary, middle, and high school. We need to intervene with students when they need those interventions. And these type of things, we're going to see the metrics really pay off for our students. And in both ways, our students that are struggling will have less failures. Our students that are doing what they're supposed to be doing are getting more privileges that are being added on. Anything more with phones or home care? What are you seeing with the phone piece?
Nothing that we haven't seen.
And homecoming seemed to go off very well from everything we could tell. It was a great parade. It was a lot of things that, from our point, it seemed like a lot of excitement going from there. So anything with overall changes, any questions with this one?
So next year, homecoming is going to go back to the way it used to be, or it's going to be the same? Or are you guys going to do another student survey type thing, and they're going to decide what happens for next homecoming for 2025?
Or as far as if it's a Thursday or Friday piece?
Thursday, Friday, are
So
they
the-
going to go back to?
Is it a Friday?
Friday, okay,
Okay.
and like,
And the Thursday thing was something, we didn't pick that.
you know,
That
the
was a
whole
rough
rep
thing.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But like the powder pop and like, it's going to go back to the evenings versus during the day?
I guess, what's that? That would be a survey of the kids.
So the kids will get like an actual survey, or are you just going to pull certain kids and they're going to decide? I don't know, I'm just asking.
No, the kids will get an extra.
Okay.
I have a question. I go over here to some parent. So, the win time, I'm just concerned because one of my students has had issues and then she had to ask for help and then she didn't get a response right away. So then, she had to wait for the email to come back for the teacher for help from this win time. So I'm just concerned that, it sounds great that the teacher is going to reach out, but if the student reaches out and doesn't hear back from the teacher, then, the win time is, supposed to be, helping the student along, especially if they're struggling. So I just want to make sure that if the student is reaching out, we're getting back to them right away, because obviously that's a great thing if a student's reaching out. Maybe their mom is getting on them at home, I don't know. But, I'm worried that I just want to make sure that this is helping them out too, because, if you're waiting for the teacher to say something and maybe the teacher's idea of a bad grade and the mom's idea of a bad grade is not the same, right? So, I just want to make sure that it's kind of going both ways, that, that they're understanding that they need to get back to these students right away if they're reaching out. So it sounds like a great concept. I just hope that it's not delaying any action.
And I think, kudos to Kim, the selection, there's some systems as, we know what intervention works, but sometimes the selection, that stuff wasn't caught up. That's where, Suzanne said September, we were trying to get into the campus and all the other good things working. Kim has been working overtime to make sure those things are much, much better. We've come a long way in 8 weeks, and we're going to keep working on it.
I have a question. Just wondering about when the new cafeteria is open and hearing that there's going to be some changes and maybe where the kids get to eat. You mentioned, if I understood it right, like maybe some students eating in the lobby. Do you foresee any, or I don't know if I heard that right, but do you foresee changes in how lunch is assigned in the grade levels that are able to eat together?
The building leadership team will be discussing that. Any change will take place until semester. So what I meant by the lobby is that when the high school is done, they can go up to the lobby.
Oh,
and have
okay.
lunch in the lobby.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
But there's going to be more separation of space. One end is going to be, middle, and then the other end is space. Because we'll be in a gym. Right now,
And that should be opening up, according to everything we can hear, that'll be opening up at the beginning of the year. We can go, and it'll be just a bigger space at that time. But the move is going to happen over Christmas break.
just a quick question, who's on the building leadership team? Sure, that's made up of 6 speakers on the high school staff. And who are they? It is, Travis Olson, Victoria, Wendy Hoffman, Natalie Lee.
I think Nikki Anderson is on there.
What's that?
Was it Nikki on there?
Nikki Anderson.
And then it was Sid, but I don't know who replaced her.
Who replaced it was, not rolling off the top. Lizzie Walter. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
I think, building lead, we do a very good job. I'm biased, of course, of distributed leadership, right? So we have a district leadership team that is a group of each of these leaders in our building to help us guide where our district is. Each building has a building leadership team. And each one of these teams are consisted of individuals that have to do with our strong classrooms, our strong culture, and our strong community connections. So we try to always make sure that we live and breathe what our mission and vision is, and that we have voice from everybody that's part of this. And it's something that we put a lot of time. Those meetings take time, but that's how we continue to make sure that we keep ourselves sharp. Okay. Anything else with these changes? Okay, moving on to hotspots. There was a time during COVID that we had a whole bunch. How many hotspots did we have at one time? 45. We were the only district I know of that if a student needed internet, they had internet during COVID because of our virtual learning. And that E-rate has gone away. It is supposedly coming back for families that need internet. So we don't have hotspots. We have to pay to keep them going. And out of those 45, we're just using very few, I think 1 or 2. If a family is struggling, they can request. And if they are a student or a family that qualifies for free or reduced lunch, we actually have an agreement with Bertram. So that's something that we still have out there, and but I wanted to know. I know there was some questions about why we did what we did with them. Any questions on the hotspot?
Just communication again. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Take the time to get internet at home.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, the outside lights in the parking lot are on. We got them wired. I even think we used a generator for a few nights to get them going before they could get connected. So, watch, we're going to go out tonight. They won't be on, but they should be on. And like everyone will see go to the window and see what's happening from there.
Yeah, they were on last week.
Where they came, and it's pretty lit. The LED does a nice job. So. Just a little update, our other parking lot should be getting blacktopped this week, so it's going to be a busy week here. Interest on a referendum, we approximate somewhere around $1.5 million will be made on interest by how we're paying out. As you can see, we have $23 million that hasn't been paid out to Myron or Bray. And that funds are being used through a cooperative that is built for public education, to put those in 100% safe places where we can earn interest while we pay out our referendum. So I think we've been very proactive. We had some really great ones hit. U.S. Treasuries have been really high. So we've done really well as a district in that area. Any questions on that?
How much did the prices go up since the start? Receive a, is it going up?
So actually, you mean the overall project? So when the overall project was, we actually had initially, what was the first number we asked for? 32.9? Yeah, no, that's what it passed. The first one, the referendum question came out
Like 32.9.
32.9. And at that point, the question came back as 50-50. So we found ways to trim that down to 29.9. From that 29.9 million, because of these investments and things, we are actually able to do around that $32 million project for 29.9. And some of that is contingencies and some other things. So right now, I would say our project, and Reedy and Chuck, you guys are on there, I would say we are right at what the projections of the 29.9. I feel comfortable that we will slide in right about there. You just never know when you open up a wall, or when you find two parking lots underneath each other, or if you walk down the middle school, you'll see where we have plumbing, and then we have red tape. When we built that part of the building, we actually ran the power with the plumbing. So when we cut out the plumbing, we're going to have to do new electrical. That wasn't part of it. But I think Ray has done a really nice job of preparing us for some of those things and making sure we have contingencies. So, Reenie or Chuck, anything on the project that you want to add to that?
Was that what you were looking for as far as?
I was looking for the price, if the price changed, has it gone up dramatically since the start of this?
Due to costs that are beyond
The
our
cost of
control.
products being higher.
Okay, that's what I thought you were kind of going to. I think what Mike addressed was because there was some concern out there by the public at one point that we're spending more than $29.9 billion, and that was not approved by the public.
Right.
So there are two different issues here. Your concern is
Right. that's
our
gone
price is
up.
coming in, yeah.
And I'm sure it has, but
But we hard bid.
We
hard bid. So we did it very different than others. Sorry, Chuck, but I want to make sure.
Yeah.
We did it different. A lot of districts go and they get a planning company, and then that planning company will go and get a construction manager that will give you cost as you plan. We didn't like that as a board because we felt like if you let the construction companies in on the front end and know what the planning is, they know how much money is there, and then they use all of your money. So we went with a relationship with Bray. We went to a hard bid. We had 5, 6, or 7 companies come out, and the bid came far enough down that we were able to do some of those initial projects. So there is change orders, you know how these things with wiring and stuff like that, but because of the hard bid, it's insulated us from any increase in the materials because they had to give us that. Does that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions on interest? Not hearing any. The bus situation, I'm happy to say all of our students are coming back as of last week. So we still have mending to do physically, emotionally. I think our pupil services and our teachers, we're trying to make sure that we're being as considerate, but also moving forward as much as we can. I've been really proud of everybody, how we circled around with that. There are some questions about how we responded initially. I did say at the last meeting, when we talked to the first responders from the critical response team from Ozaki, they actually commented that when they first showed up at the bus scene, they thought it would take at least 3 hours to get our students and parents reunited, and they were reunited in about 40 minutes. But some of that is because parents came to the scene, and we were able to have organized chaos. And I really want to thank the first responders from there. One of the things that Chuck and I have been working on from this is we have been part of the camera system and everything else, working with other districts in Sheboygan County to identify a single pane emergency response plan. The company we're going with is called Single Wire. So Single Wire is something when there's an active threat, you hit a button and it communicates out to all the people the things you want to have communicated. We're trying to work and we're fortunate in Sheboygan County because I was just meeting with the superintendents today. We're trying to go with I Love You Guys as our one response because there's Alice, there's Hide, Run, Fight, there's all these different ones. We're trying to make it easy for law enforcement. We're trying to use all the same communication pieces. So all those things are rolling out. This bus situation, I don't think we would have had, because this bus situation is so nuanced. I'm not sure Single Wire would have helped us for this situation. But those are some things that we're working on and continue to work on. So, questions with any of that? Go ahead.
Oh, Mike, I just want to bring something, I think a lot of people have a question, it's kind of a minor, but we've discussed a couple times what's going to happen regarding a replacement of the bus that was damaged. I mean, it's just a taxpayer concern. I think we're in the process still, we don't know a final settlement from the insurance company, but whether we replace that bus or not, it sounds like we probably will not be able to, will not want to replace that bus.
Yeah, so we have, with where our routes have come in the last 4 years, we don't need to replace it. We have been reached out by their insurance company. We still don't know limits and things like that and how much of their reimbursement, but their insurance company has taken full responsibility. And I've been contacted by our insurance that they'll be reaching out to them with that.
And we can't go into a lot of detail.
Can't go
on
into
that.
details.
But just, I think the public should know that
Yeah.
it's something we're being addressed.
Jody had a question.
Yeah, just with this push the button thing, is that like a communication that goes to all the families? Like, let's say there's an active shooter, or even like Slinger, where they just had, everybody had to get sent home, picked up, and if the kids don't have their phone, is it like you hit the button and then a message goes, like a phone call or a text goes out to all the families? Like,
We
this is
said-
what's going on?
Yeah, it's Single Wire. So whatever situation we say, and it's not a button, right? We go online and say, okay, it's this. So then you set up what the communication plan is, and it automatically sends it to the people you need to. So if it's an active threat, the first thing we would do is we would send that to law enforcement. Law enforcement would also get a link that would give them access to our cameras at that time with any updates from there. Another part of that would go out to parents and say, okay, at this time, there's this happening. We would let parents know where the reunification point is and go from there. So each one of those, we would create a plan of what gets communicated when that scenario happens. And it's something that's coming around and something we're going to make it similar for all districts because when Sheboygan North just had a situation second week of September, you have state patrol, you have sheriffs, you have law enforcement from all different areas. So if we know they're coming, we can give them the live feeds and go from there. Fortunately, that was a false alarm, but it just shows how quickly you have to set up perimeters and do all those other things. So as far as students having their phones, in those situations, we don't want students to have phones anyways because when you have something like that, you need to make sure that the phones are going and our towers will get bogged down if too many people have phones. So the people that need to get into the cell towers to talk to people that have to. So anytime there would be any kind of situation like that, the first thing adults are told to do is take all cell phones away because we need to make sure that people using the cell towers are
I just have one quick question. Are we gonna, since you can't speak to like the insurance and that, are we gonna get something from you guys saying when it's a done deal? Because now the things that insurance would cover are starting to come in. And is that something that we can set up a time with you, since it really doesn't fall under, because we were told that we could get whatever care we needed. And now that she's taken full responsibility and you guys have zero liability to it, who pays for that type of thing? Is that something that we can set up a time with you?
You can set up with me, and also I send out to all of our families. Michael Charles is our
Yep, I
person.
spoke with him kind of, and,
Because honestly, he knows more about that than even I do. We're learning as we go through some
yeah,
of
because I
these
know
things.
you said once it went to the insurance, it was pretty much
Yeah.
out of your hands, but,
And not that we don't care, I just, you know how it is with insurance companies. You don't get to tell them.
yep, yeah, because once the bills start running in, that's when
Yeah.
we start to be concerned,
Yeah.
so, okay.
But I'd love to, please reach out. I need to be able to know what's happening with our families, so that way I can advocate and find out those questions on the other side.
Because I can tell you that from that day, because we've been to Aurora before, we got our bill today, and they just automatically ran it through our insurance. It wasn't even anything checking with school or checking with anybody to see who pays for it. It just automatically went through our insurance, and now pay the bill. So, but, okay. Thank you.
Okay, anything else on the bus situation? Then the last topic we had was about the 16 teachers that left was the question. It was 11 teachers, and the breakdown were 2 went for retirement, 3 followed family or moved back to family, 3 took jobs closer at home, cutting down commute, 1 stayed at home with their dad, and 2 left. So that's the breakdown of staff that this last year had. Questions
Can I
on that?
address something with that too? Like usually when staff leaves, we get a letter from them, like explaining where they're going. And they've been uniformly positive about randomly schools. Like, the staff who's leaving mostly expressed like gratitude for the time they spent here and praise for the administration, praise for the faculty. And kind of sadness about leaving. So I've never gotten any impression from any of those letters that there's something that's causing them to not want.
I'll say it's a tough time in education, right? I mean, this isn't the most glorified job right now, and I think it hits our staff hard on. We try to protect them as much as we can as administrators, but it is what it is. In some ways, I think we've done as much as we can. Culture is our number 2 goal that we're always working on, but change is tough as well. So I feel like we have a good staff, and we continue to have a good staff.
We also have to be cognizant that we're in an economic time where if people can make, I mean, we believe we pay a very fair teacher salary here, and we try to be very competitive. But at some point in time, and I can't speak for any specific teacher, but sometimes teachers just move on because there's a better pay out there for them, and it's a better opportunity. And we, as much as we want to match that, we just can't do that. So I think that's also something we have
An
to be
interesting
cognizant
time
of.
right now.
Yeah.
And especially if you're in certain areas or things like that, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? That's all I have.
All right, so that takes us to comments from the public. And I do have some on the list. Jerry?
I guess that was pretty much just covering my bases just to make sure that.
Okay, great. And Jody? You're good? All right, and Patty?
I do have something I'd like to say. I just want to comment on the last board meeting. I've introduced myself as Patty Dance. I'm a community member, I'm a taxpayer, and also a businessman for the last 7 years. I lived in the village for over 40 years. I'm very happy here. My boys and my husband graduated from the school. I don't want to only talk about my perspective as an employee of this district, but I want to talk as a taxpayer and community member. I was on the referendum planning committee. We spent hours. And I can verify that every decision that was made was thought out and carefully planned, taking into consideration choices that would affect not only today's students, but the future students. There was input from all sources. That was a question last night. Staff, teachers, coaches, there was board members, parents, there was participation. There was discussion at several board meetings about the referendum. My concern as a taxpayer was to get this right, to fix what was wrong. Plumbing, safety, the parking lot, to name a few. As a business manager, I was concerned about making the facility more cost effective and doing it within the referendum funds. One district office, one library, student services in one location are just some of the areas that we will be saving on staffing and expenses, not only next year, but years to come. I was pretty disappointed by the tone of the last meeting. Random Lake prided itself on being a very kind and caring community, and I experienced that personally this past year. Anyone watching the video from the last meeting, I don't think they would have gotten that we were kind and considerate. I understand there are some concerns, but the way they were presented was very disappointing. Our superintendent was out of his way to be available for conversations or phone calls while you choose to make that phone call, as do our board members. Our administration team and our board, we are lucky to have them. They always make decisions that's based first and foremost on the students. That's what it should be. As a parent of when I was in school, I would hope that they would be making decisions based on the students, not on my needs. Ultimately, you're not going to agree with everything that is decided, but there's 646 students in this school. You have to make decisions regarding all of the students, not just certain students. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to referendum discussion.
Okay. We have the updates there. You can see there's some really exciting things happening with the new addition. Windows are going to put on here this week. Parking lots going in. It's kind of exciting to see those things. Landscaping has been done, and it's busy. It's busy, but I thank the parents for living with the different drop-offs that we've had to go through. The staff for the noise. You never know when you're in a meeting and all of a sudden you hear pounding of concrete and things like that going on. So we're on time. Everything that looks like it's supposed to be done at the times we initially forecasted seems to be happening. We've had one or two areas. This area was supposed to be open at the end of September, our connecting link. That actually had to do with an inspector that came in that looked at things a little bit differently. So that isn't anything on Myron or Bray. It was just a state inspector that is going to cost us an extra $29,000 for something that isn't needed in other areas, but I won't get into that. So other than that, I really feel like things are going forward, and I will be happy when this thing is done. But it's been a fun journey. We only have about 10 more months. So
10 more what?
10 more months.
Really?
10 more months. Yes. This next summer will be very hot and heavy again, because 2/3 of the district will get done in 3 months. But right now, things are going smooth.
Any questions on the referendum? All right, board committee reports. Budget committee met. And so far, I pretty much saw everything, right?
Correct.
All right, building reports.
All right, so starting out with Strong Classroom. So we did the first of 2 ACT practice days that we're going to do.
We'll be doing another one in December. And so we built in a privilege with the students based on putting in their effort. And so we had 144 students that earned the ice cream dessert bar perk there. But overall, fabulous data that's coming in, breaking it down, really zeroing in on what students need to know and be able to do to grow for their next practice time. And so we'll have another incentive privilege system built in based on growth from the one here in October to the December one. And then the real day where all of our ninth through juniors will take the pre-ACT and ACT. That will be scheduled in April at that time. 9/11 memorial field trips, 8th and 9th grade. They went and really had a great experience. So Mrs. Walters is our 9th grade social studies teacher, and Mrs. Hughes, 8th grade social studies teachers. They did activities around what 9/11 was all about, background there, and then they went out to Kewaskum and saw their museum and the pieces there, and I think the students really, it was thought provoking for them. So very memorable. I have down there strong community connections, but just a shout out to Eric Ratke and the Legion. They helped sponsor that trip, so really was an impactful trip. Middle school, high school speaker presentation. We had a speaker come in from our IROC2 organization. This was set up by Officer Cobb before he left, and really talking about digital mindfulness. And I really thought it was a really good presentation and was kind of eye-opening too for our students. And I know, thank you, Jody, for being there for our parent presentation, Jody. But it was a good presentation, and we have now additional follow-up videos that we're going to be sharing with the students and keeping this first and foremost. It's not about not using your devices because they're here to stay. It's about how are we mindfully using them to protect our safety and the safety of others. All right.
All right. For the next item, the coaching visits, we've had professionals in the building from CISA and from CKLA, and they're visiting our strong classrooms, and just lots of positive comments and giving ideas for teachers to just keep improving. But a lot of them walked away saying, you have some amazing teachers here, and I completely agree. I'm very thankful for them. This Friday during our in-service, we're going to do a site visit to Sheboygan Falls to see a math curriculum that we're piloting currently, Bridges. It's very comprehensive. The rigor is really good for our students and just going to stretch them even more. So going to go see it in practice and see what that looks like. We were selected for our first grade work in the Character Ed program for the Wisconsin School Board Association. We're in the school fair, so we are meeting to kind of plan what that looks like. We're going to be at the back of the exhibit hall, and so friends will walk through the exhibit hall and then get to see our school fair. So we've been working with some first grade teachers on that and what that will look like.
We may test drive the school board here before that's in January, right?
Yep, I was hoping for the December meeting. Awesome. And then last but not least, just thinking about our instructional rounds, we're going to take some walkthroughs, and teachers will get to learn from other teachers through our CKLA curriculum that aligns with the Act 20 and the reading pieces. So that's coming up for this year.
Strong school culture. So this monthly theme for the middle school, self-control. So they've been talking about what does that really mean for them as a student and learning about that, and then opportunities to practice that. We have different community service projects going on this month. So with the middle school, they're collecting the pull tabs. At the high school, we have food treat bags and clothing donations by NHS. And we have just started a penny war, and all of those proceeds are going to be going to support hurricane relief. So we're really excited, and the whole school's working towards those community service projects. And then grade level monthly competitions during Ramway. So this is taking place at the high school and the middle school separately at their own levels, where each month the grade levels will be participating in different activities that are going against the grade levels. And so right now we'll be keeping a tally, and then whoever won at the end of the semester, we'll do some rewards for that, and then we'll do it again at the end of semester 2. So stay tuned, talk to your kids about who's winning right now.
All right, and continuing with the idea of character ed and culture, The elementary this past month has been working on honesty and being truthful and what that means as a student in our strong classrooms. And I always tell the students, like, being honest helps us get to the bottom of things. And so just really practicing that and learning what it means to be honest and truthful. Really thankful for some collaboration with Susan. We're going to get to do some trick or treating in the school this week. So Thursday, everybody's dressing up. We're doing a parade in the morning, and then in the afternoon, we're going to get to trick or treat at any of the decorated doors. So thankful for that.
It was kind of cool, so at the win for the high school, and I love how the high school's trying to talk with it. So you go in the auditorium, they talk about what's coming up this month. And when they told the high school that they were gonna do trick or treating with the elementary kids, the whole auditorium just went like, oh, like they were excited. So then this last Thursday, we actually had our friends from Logenics in here talking about furniture and things, and they were decorating the doors. Just the buzz in here was so cool. So when we can do these little things and feel pride for I know our elementary kids are excited, but when the big kids get excited to work with little kids, it's kind of fun. So, and we don't have school on Fridays, so we can sugar everybody up and we don't have to worry about something.
Are we meeting Candy?
What's that?
Do we meet Candy?
I do. There will be
We've got candy. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Strong Community Connections, again, the shout out to the Legion for supporting our 9/11 field trips. And thank you to the PTO for sponsoring dinner for our elementary and middle school parent teacher conferences. They sponsored dinner for the staff and it was delicious.
And speaking of candy, we please come out to the trunk or treat down by the lake this Thursday after school. So just really excited to have the PTO putting that on again. I think there's chili too, if I'm not mistaken. A little bit of a chili dump happening. So there's food too. I'm really excited. This year we started another outreach program. Last year we started the library outreach. This year we've added the Gables by the Pond. This was a program that Lori Bierman had been doing for several years, and we kind of picked that up. And I've heard that Lori's been at some of our events when our kids go over there. But it's been really great. The people at Gables have been really wonderful to work with, and they helped us kind of teach the students, like, okay, when you go into this place, you're going to see friends that we call them grand friends. And so it's been really cool just to see the relationships they're building with the residents. So that's it for me.
Just want to end with a student shout out. So one of our seniors, Jacob, he earned the highest ASVAB score in the state of Wisconsin, and he is now considered an official member of the U.S. Navy. So we're very excited for the job that he did. So well done to Jacob.
I think it's important to say, so now we have the highest ASVAB in Wisconsin, and then we've had 2 National Merit Scholars and a perfect ACT. Those aren't any of this, those are all different students. It's not like one student racking these up. These are all different. So just another way of doing some really cool things.
And a super speller in the middle school.
Okay. You can teach me a thing or two on spelling.
Students pursuing college course studies.
Oh, I had a sheet on that too. Kim?
Hold on.
We have a bunch. Oh, shoot. Too many papers today. Yeah, Jake got that to me today. Is it 16? Thank you. There we go. 16 through LTC and 10 through Moraine Park. And the topics: welding, nursing, healthcare, agriculture, education, and psychology. So, yeah. And you think of 26 students, out of juniors and seniors, we have right around, about 95 juniors and seniors, right? So it's a good chunk for the semester. Okay. Thanks, Sven.
The board needs to vote on the adoption of the final budget and the annual tax levy for 24-25. Is there a motion to approve all those numbers that we talked about?
So
an hour
moved.
ago? Chuck, yeah,
Second.
and Brian, any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have new support staff. Valerie Cummings, ES paraprofessional. And then that takes us to third Friday enrollment.
So there is the enrollment. As you can see, we keep graduating 50-some, and our elementary, we're coming in usually in the 40s, mid-40s. So slowly, enrollment has been going down. So the best we can do is continue. I know the village will be hosting a day in November around some of the proposed subdivisions, things like that. Those are some things that are really important for us as a district. We can still offer a lot of things because I think financially we've found creative ways to continue to fund at the level we are, even in a declining enrollment environment. But sooner or later, these numbers start getting a little tougher. So as we look at new subdivisions, new housing, those type of things, those are being important.
Do we do anything just annually to reach out to the families that are
Choosing
that
up.
open it? Yeah.
We
yeah.
do to ones that are choosing new. There's some that have never come here. But anyone that, for whatever reason, and just like with staff leaving, there's as many reasons as there is people that are leaving with them. So, so yeah, but we do with, there's new applications.
So just with our referendum and just all the fresh look and updated facilities, is it a time where we could maybe reintroduce ourselves to some families that have never attended? And maybe if they hear some of the great things we're doing, would reconsider?
So I have a teenage daughter at home, and sometime around December and January, the number of flyers that come home from all the voucher schools and all the other things that are out there, it's amazing how much people spend on that stuff. You can talk tens of thousands of dollars to blast those things out and do that. And we've really tried to have the good word of what we're doing get out. We use social media and targeted marketing and things like that. But if that's something we want to, especially with how our facilities are looking, it might be an opportunity to do that. I don't like doing it every year because it just seems like a waste of resources. But when I see what our competitors are doing, knowing they're getting $2,000 more per kid than we are, maybe that's how they afford it. But it being trying to make sure that we don't waste our tax dollars for something, but I think there is something we could talk about.
Even, like one flyer just to, maybe they haven't heard
Right.
what we're doing.
Right, I mean, it just, look at the things with where our students have shown they've accomplished in the last 4 or 5 years. These are things that anyone would be proud of, so getting those out there, we'll look at another model for this.
It's unfortunate that schools have to do marketing, but that is the world we live in now. So,
And I will say, I think I've given plenty of tours in my time here. Our facilities were never a reason somebody came here, right? Like I gave a couple tours that had been in other places, at voucher schools, Lutherans, things like that. And we lost out because of facilities. That won't be an issue. So that's one of the things I thank our community for giving us the facilities that will become all things equal. Now we can show them the programming we have.
well, to feel proud of our facility.
Yeah.
It'll be nice to have that feeling. I think we're proud of our students, our teachers, our staff, and now we get to have a building that reflects all of that.
And I think if I could just say, one of the things that we don't often consider is declining birth rates over the last couple of decades. In 2008, with the economic decline, the birth rate dropped to 20%, and it really hasn't recovered. And so that steep decline has been making its way through the educational system. While we've seen a bit of a recovery. We still haven't recovered from those earlier times. So, you know, you see the decline in the numbers, and I don't have them split up, but, you know, it's easy to kind of do reflection and kind of say, hey, what could we have done differently? But, you know, we're reacting to external environment that we just need to consider as we do our financial planning over the long term.
And they say by 2030, 80% of homes will not have school-age children anymore because of decreasing birth rates, because you know, two household families, things like that. So even as a subdivision comes in and say we get 30 homes, well, really only 6 of those homes will have school-age children. So it is part of where it's going. We're seeing it happen at our post-secondary friends are struggling, other districts, and truly. One of the things we did when we switched over to busing, things that, you know, Patty's always helping, those are things that helped us look at it. At one time, we were my first couple of years, we had declined at over 10%. We were one of the highest, fastest declining enrollments because of the new building. And we were still able to not do any layoffs, anything like that. So I feel like we are a lean organization because we're forced to put the things where we need to. We reduced the number of administrators, doing all this.
He's done a great job.
Okay, that takes us to informational items.
Okay. First of all, Veterans Day again. Thank you, Brian, for being the speaker. That is going to be November 11th, 9:30. Don't take that. It's either 9 or 9. It's either 9 or 9:30. I don't. You know, Kim? Is it 9 o'clock? 9 o'clock in the gym. Honestly, our whole mantra of it's an entire district. We have our elementary, middle, and high school in. We have a number of guests. We've actually had more and more of our veterans come. Our elementary has a song they sing. Our band and choir do a great job. We have speakers, so please come. It's becoming quite the event. December 2nd is going to be our board retreat, unless anybody tells me differently tonight. Going once, twice. December 2nd. We'll talk about what timing looks like for that. And then when I talked about the annual meeting, how I really appreciate, I know it's a little longer tonight. Thank you all for being here. But this was the best way to get the most exact information out by doing all 3 meetings in one night. So we will continue to do this, and it's been great having more people here and going through this. This is the most we've had for an annual meeting, so mark your calendar, and we want to see you back here next.
Thanks for coming.
Get into it. That takes us to a closed session. The board will go into closed session as permitted under Wisconsin State Statute, Chapter 19, Section 1985, 1E, to discuss possible district purchasing option. Is there a motion to go into closed session? Some reading. Katie, this requires the roll call vote. Amy? Yes. Chris? Yes. Rainey? Yes. Chuck?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
I say yes, we are in closed session. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. We won't be taking